Hi guys, it's Andy, the expedition hiker, and we are on the Gower Coastal Path. Now I'm not entirely sure where it actually starts, but we're in Crofty, as the sign says behind me. And actually Crofty is right on the edge of the Gower, which is the Gower Peninsula. But according to the Long Distance Walking Association, the footpath starts at 2-3 miles back that direction. But we're starting from Crofty, as this is right by the edge of the Gower coast. I'm going to head all the way down towards, I think it's called Landy. Anyway, eventually we'll head on towards Rhossili, the Worm's Head, Port Einon, and then over towards Oxwich, Three Cliffs, and then from there by the Mumbles. We're going to finish off at the Oystermouth Castle. We're only just starting and it's about 4 o'clock as I've travelled down from Nottingham today. Bit of a trek. I'd like to get probably about 8-9 miles in today, and then we'll get up to the sands, the dunes, and over on to Rhossili Downs tomorrow. Right, okay, with that, let's get going. So this is what we're following, the Wales Coast Path. Actually, the Gower Peninsula Coast Path doesn't have its own footpath signs, so we'll be following this one. Where am I exactly? Well, as I mentioned, we're in the Gower Peninsula, part of Glamorgan, and that's in South Wales. And as being a bit of a Welshman, we're in my homeland, so to speak. It's a place I used to visit as a child many a year, especially as my grandparents used to have a chalet in an area called Oxwich, which we'll be visiting in a couple of days' time. And with that, how long is it going to take me? Well, not entirely sure. As I say, I think it's 46 miles over just that way, direct in that line. There is a lighthouse, and that's where I'm hoping to select that direction and get to today. While camping along the way, so I'm not sure where we're going to camp, how long it's going to take me. Hopefully might get to see some seals, possibly even some dolphins further along the way, as we walk the Gower Coastal Path, which is part of the Wales Coastal Path, which obviously follows the coast of Wales. I'm going to butcher a load of these Welsh names. Well, I think it's called Llanid Moors, Llanid Marshland. Now, obviously there's a big lot of marshland behind me. Now, according to what it looks on the map, it says the mean water of a high tide is actually where I am now. But you wouldn't believe that, because I mean, the sea must be at least a kilometre away. And also this area used to be a military firing range, so there's probably bits of debris floating around there. But it is a bit boggy and marshy, as if this becomes underwater at some point. There's lots of horses, sheep and cows down there, so where would today go when the tide goes in? Well, that's surprising. I just spoke to a lady. The high tides come all the way to where we are now. The lady said usually in the spring and autumn, and also around a full moon, the tides do come this far in, which is overwhelming really. Now hopefully, and as I've been told, it's not expected to be a full moon soon. Well, the horses and the cattle, when it starts coming in, they come all the way up and just stand on this road until the tides go back out again. Nearly 2 kilometres, I would say, actual waterfront from here. And yet they're saying this was 10 metres underwater. How things have changed. Okay, it's not that clear to see. We see how the hill starts to dip down. Here's Worsley Castle. Now, it is a ruins, part of a farm now. I do believe you can actually visit it. We might get a better look when we get a bit closer. So in the meantime, we're continuing along this track that walks alongside the marshland. Okay, we're just coming to our first village. I think we're in a place called Llanryddion. Church in front of us is St Rhydian and St Illyd, maybe. We'll head out of the village, up the hill, and beyond we'll come to King Arthur's Stone, or Arthur's Stone. I'll show you a little picture of what Arthur's Stone burial mound looks like. We're going to stick with walking on the Wales Coast Path, as the signpost says, to go this way. As we look along the estuary, the opposite side of the estuary is Carmarthenshire. Up there you got the town of Llanelli, and then heading outwards towards Pembrokeshire and beyond. But we're still walking along this path. So you can just about see right at the summit of that hill is Arthur's Stone perched up. Looking up onto our left, we can see the castle in a slightly little bit more detail now. As I mentioned, Worsley Castle. Reasonable size as well. I mean, say it's a ruin, but not too bad a shape. But we're continuing this way. I'm enjoying this path so far. I've only walked probably 6-7 kilometres of it. Nice walk. Little alcove there, maybe an old lime kiln. There's another lit in on the right hand side. Yeah, possibility either some sort of shelter or an old lime kiln. So we've just reached Llandymore Marsh. You can see a good clear picture of how flat it is around these marshlands. You can see the other side of Carmarthenshire over there. Bit of a wind turbine farm on the horizon over there, and then looking back to the direction where we came from today as we've walked all the way around this marshland. There is a pub about 2 miles away from where I am at the moment. I'll try and get there, maybe either grab something to eat there or at least get some water, and then we'll head on to that woodlands over there. The other side of it is the lighthouse. And there's the marshlands in front of us. Can't even see the water, it's that far away, apart from these inland streams. Now the top of that hill is called the Bulwark, and just probably in the centre of the picture now used to be an old iron fort. And there's a lot of old forts around this area. In fact, near enough every hilltop had a fort on it at some point. Somewhere amongst them buildings is a pub. I can grab some drink, maybe some food. Now it's about 7:30 now. It's got about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes before it starts to get dark. Now it doesn't look like it's going to rain. There's not a cloud, well, only clouds in the sky are over there. Other than that, it is a clear out sky. So it should have a nice sunset as well. Anyway, let's get to Llandymore, work out if the pub's open. That's definitely a black sheep of the family. I've never seen a sheep so black as him. It's almost as like a shadow. Whiteford Point. You can just about make out the lighthouse. It's actually disused now. So this is the church of St Maddock. And then we can see the coast. Down in that direction is a cave called Bone Cave. Prehistoric bones have been found there. There's definitely a thing for sheep around here on these roads. Are we having a race? You going right or are you going to go for me? I went right. There's nothing better I could have found half an hour before sunset. Trying to find a pitch. So I go uphill and we'll go walk up sand. It's quite steep up here. Oh well. But the view's great. Really great view. With a good sunset. Although I'd like to be at some sort of pitch. It means I'm going to get to the top of this hill. My first look at the Worm's Head. So that must be Rhossili Downs, highest point of the walk. Right, well it's nearly sunset and I ain't got a place to pitch yet. You can see the sun is about 10-15 minutes away from sunset. So where am I pitching? I do not know. Well, we're still plodding along. It's dusk has happened. That was probably half an hour ago. Still haven't found a real pitch to go. There's either sand dunes or animals wandering around like horses, or there's farms all over the shop. And I'm aiming towards a campsite, which is about 2 kilometers away from here. They've got a 2-night stay, but I'm hoping there's a backpacker. I might be able to wangle it for just the night. We've walked way over what I estimated to do today. Problem is I'm running out of light rapidly. Bit of a night walking in the sand dunes. But fortunately we're heading to Hill End and I'm guessing that's the hill. And there's a big caravan site there. It might be a point that I pitch now and then pay in the morning. The sky is covered in stars. I was trying to work out where Ryan's belt is. I couldn't. Constellations and everything we can see. Anyway, so we got to the campsite. We are at Hill End. Got in for the night. We've got the tent up and I think we're going to go to bed. So it's about midnight now. I shall see you in the morning. Morning people. Well, it's day 2 of the Gower Coastal Path. Now last night I stayed at Hill End, which was a campsite. It wasn't my original plan, but well, my plans went out the window. Originally I meant to have walked about 6 miles, as I didn't start till 5 o'clock, but that turned out to be about 14 miles. We were actually ahead of schedule overall, trying to work out where I'm going to stay tonight. Problem being is that wild camping spots seem to be far between so far. The easiest places to park your tent is in the sand dunes, but not very easy for putting a trekking pole tent up. We can just about see behind me is Hill End campsite. It is a huge site, caravans and tents. Well, we're moving away from that now. Now on my left hand side is Rhossili Downs. Now I did think that was the highest point of the whole walk, but then I looked on the footpath and the coastal path walks alongside it, not up it. So that makes a little bit of a easier walk today. We're heading towards Rhossili and the Worm's Head, which has some childhood memories to myself. So with that, here's the Gower Coast. We're walking that way. So let's get going. Right, here's a clearer view of the Worm's Head. Now, as you can see, the causeway is open, so you could potentially walk across. Now, the middle bit, the bit that's heaped up on either side. Now, I've got a childhood memory of that, because when I was a child, my grandparents, who are Welsh, used to have a chalet local to here. And we came here the last day of our holiday before we went travel back up to Nottingham. I walked up the top, and it's quite steep, those edges of that middle part. And I started walking down there, and a walk turned into a run, although not planned. I was only probably about 9 or 10 at the time. Only had a pair of shorts on and shoes, nice summer's day. As I got to the bottom, I tripped, did a somersault in mid-air and landed in a bed of nettles. Stung from head to toe. Well, we travelled back that day, and I think it was about 4 or 5 hours of journey. I was throwing up in my grandfather's car all the way back. He wasn't too pleased, and nor was everybody else, and the smell lingered in the car. Also here, just on the left hand side, the cliff faces here. Now this used to be a really big spot for hang gliders back in the day, until one particular hang glider decided to take a sharp right and sharp right again as he jumped off, meaning he went straight back into the cliff face. Now when Coast Guard came to pick him up and sort him out, they were finding bits for ages, and it wasn't the hang glider they were looking at, it was bits of him all over, scattered over the beach. So since then I think not many people do hang gliding here. This beach here, all the way up to Spaniard's Gap, which is that mound just to the left. This beach is meant to be one of the best beaches in the world. Now I'm not sure why, but I do know a lot of people do come to here. If it's the hang gliding, paragliding, the Worm's Head, the Spaniards, or the actual Great Sandy Beach. It is a joyful place for a lot of people. Well, I don't think he's having much of a snooze, because there's a lot of flies around him. I think he needs a doctor. Is there a doctor in the house? Oh dear. Well, we're heading on. That's Rhossili. So that's where we're heading to now. One of your mates is back there. He's not looking too healthy. You might need to call somebody. Not sure about Worm's Head. To me, it looks more like a snail's head. The middle bit being his body, his house. And then his head sticking up, looking for, I don't know, pastures new. I've walked all the way to that edge. There's a little bridge, so like the second to third bit, a natural bridge, the erosion underneath. It's a bit sketchy going over it, but I think it's called the Devil's Bridge, if I remember right. Then you get right up to the top, and if you look down, usually got seals hanging on the edge of the rocks there. No wonder these sheep get into trouble. He's decided to walk into the middle of some brambles and can't seem to get out now. It's all wrapped around him. Oh, is he still having a nibble? Why is there? Yeah, he's not doing well trying to get out. Well, I'm not afraid to say I'm not going to go up there and help you. I'm not even sure how you get up there. I think you came down. Oh, there's two up there. Oh well. We're near the top, we're near Rhossili now. So we just arrived in Rhossili. We've got the local vicar heading towards us. And then that's Rhossili Downs, and that's the way we've just come from. So we've got St Mary the Virgin Church of Rhossili, and then the little village or hamlet of Rhossili itself. Well, that's one way of getting down to the bottom. 4. You can see some people right down in the bay there. A lot of people go to the cliff edges, and I've heard in the past people do fall off them. So as I've been walking towards the Worm's Head, I've just seen loads and loads of people with sunflowers. I was wondering where they're getting from, and this is it. So it's a sunflower farm. So as I'm walking along, going ups and downs at the moment, it's getting warmer, tough on the old knees. So just looking down to these rocks, this is called the Nave, and it looks like on the rocks itself you can see some cormorants. I've seen this in another video, funny enough. So somebody went to find a cave, I think it was called Pavland Cave. It's meant to be the most prehistoric bones being found, human bones, oldest in Europe. Wait for a particular noise to happen again. About to turn the camera on. Sound like a snake charmer with his, I don't know what you call it, trumpet, bugle, pipe. Anyway, we're heading on. We're going to go about 4 miles before we get to Portainen. It's a bit ups and downs at the moment as I go from cliff to cliff. But we'll keep plodding on. We've got to wear out these old knees out before we get the new ones. So we can see Worm's Head just in the distance there. And we've walked around the coastal path, although it doesn't look so far this way as it did the other way. But where we are right now, there used to be a fort here. Now, I'm guessing it's probably an Iron Age fort, although it's not probably the flattest bit to have a fort. There's no remains of it now, apart from a few stones. And looking over this way, there's a bit of a drop down there, which I won't be going that way. I aim to be going that way. Well, I'm not really sure what animal that might be, because that fur doesn't look like the fur you'll see on a sheep, which is all scattered around here. It's not wool. I don't know, possibly a horse, dog, what else it could be, who knows. It's a bit tame, not that fussed running up. Usually they've gone like crackers around here. That's a lot of sheep in one small little field, trying to get the money's worth. So we're just reaching Port Ingham Point, which I believe that is the point just there. So we're going to follow this round, and then once we get to the top, we walk across the top, and then we'll head down towards the old salt house remains, and then to Port Ingham itself. We can see the old salt houses down there, what remains of them. I'm guessing collecting salt from the sea, and then we find it. And then we've got one of the many campsites. There's quite a few campsites around here. In fact, I think Port Ingham is made up of campsites, with a few houses in between. And then there's one up on the brow there that's huge. Back up to the cliff edge. And then we're aiming for that point there. Now I think that's Oxwich Point, which then once we get past there we'll head round through the woodland and into Oxwich itself. So I think I've got about 3.5 miles left to go, possibly 4. Bit of a steep path here as we head into Oxwich. I think this is called Oxwich Woods or Oxwich Forest. I'm not entirely sure. What I do know is it's very overgrown. This path's not doing me any favours. At Jurassic Park. The footpath I walked along is a bit overgrown. There's summer times and the brambles have got longer. There's some places where you can get your legs cut, that's for sure. Give me a few cuts. Now I've just realised we've gone the wrong way. I shouldn't have gone on this field. It should be in this woodland over here. But all you've got to do is touch the trig. So in another way I found another trig. So touch the trig. I think this is called Oxwich Green. I don't know if I am, because there's a marker down there, so maybe this was an alternative route. Anyway, let's see if we can get back en route. Ah, see, I was going the right way. There's a footpath here and a gate. Bingo. It's a bit overgrown. Hasn't most of this path been. like a few more steps. Coast Path, Rhossili Beach. Right, let's see if I can get down these steps without breaking my neck. And there we have it, Rhossili Bay, and it's a bit busy. Now, as I remember as a child, that this was at one point voted the #1 beach in the UK, Blue Flag Beach, and it is a big long beach. Probably stretches 2.5 kilometres. It's got rock pools at this end. You'll do a little crabbing, and on a lovely beach. At one point, some algae or jellyfishes started to come offshore, and it scared everybody off. But I believe in the last 10 years or so, or maybe even less than that, the beaches are as good as they once were. So here's the name of the church. Let me butcher this one like usual. St. Illtides, Rhossili. Here we go. Nice little church. So that's the beach. And we spread around here, and this is where we're going tomorrow. After a bit of a climb and a bit of a detour, we've got to Rhossili Castle. That's quite more of a ruin than I thought it would be. Let's go have a closer look. And the castle in a slightly closer detail. And I'm not sure what that bit is down there. Some sort of turret. Got a lot of holes in it. And this must be in the grand gatehouse. It's got like a coat of arms in the middle. If that was built at a later stage, or was it still part of the actual original castle? But overall, it looks in reasonable shape. I mean, it's not livable, but although the bit on the right is. So this is Rhossili Castle, which will, well, if the trees weren't there, would have been overlooking the bay of Rhossili, and from a slightly different look. So rather than a castle, it was a grand Elizabethan manor, a showpiece built for displaying luxury rather than defence. This is what it looked like in around 1580. Built on the site of a medieval fortress, it is one of the tallest and most impressive buildings in Elizabethan Wales. Well, it's quite a grand room. A lot of windows. I guess a lot of floors. But the window cleaner, it didn't get paid much. Right, arriving at Camp 2, Rhossili Camping Park. Now, as a child, I used to go there because there's a bunch of chalets there, and my grandparents used to own one of them. And we used to come down a few times, but we're staying here tonight, Rhossili Camping Park. Well, let's get set up. Right, here we are. I've got my little tent, I've just set it up. A lot of people say there's a lot of condensation from it because it's been a single skin tent. I don't find that much of a problem. In fact, I've had it out 5 or 6 times now. Only last night was the first night I had any condensation in the tent. That's only because it was quite warm. We're going to get some food on, and well, I'll see you tomorrow for day 3 of the Gower Coast Path. Just having a beer on the beach as the sunset has just gone down at Rhossili. So just heading back to Rhossili camping site. It's about 10:30 now. A nice sit down at the beach. Sun went down. Got chatting to a lady that's 8.5 months pregnant. She's out on a paddleboard on the coast. So probably looking for a water baby. Tomorrow we're on the next part. We'll head on towards Swansea. And with that, I'm going to say night-night from there. Morning people, it's day 3 of the Gower Coastal Path. We're leaving Oxwich, and our next point is Swansea, and that's where I'm finishing this coastal path. A place called Oystermouth Castle. So today we are walking along the Oxwich Burrows and then up to Three Cliffs Bay. Then we're going to a place that a lady told me how you pronounce it yesterday, but Head we'll go with. Then we're going to end up towards, I think it's called Castell, Langland, and then down to the Mumbles before we reach Oystermouth Castle in Swansea. Well, they're definitely trustworthy in Wales. He's just got out of his car, keys are in the car, and he's gone to the shop. Won't see that around my way. He's the most trustworthy person in the world. I mean, he's been gone 5 minutes, I think. Like for the oyster catchers. Scuttling across the ground though. So just beyond these sand dunes, the burrows, is the coast on our right and the path, and on our left hand side we've got marshland, quite thick, heavy marshland, and then heading up towards the cliffs. So we'll continue along this path, and then we're going to gradually climb up, passing Three Cliffs, and then eventually climbing up again to Pennard. Which way? The other thing about this route, it's been clearly marked all the way. Every probably about 100 meters on the dunes you see a sign. So this is the Nicholson Burrows. Well, it's starting to warm up again. It's nice to be in this woodland here. A slight cool breeze blowing through. Anyway, it's cool. It's nice on this trail, although the sun's nice as well, which I believe, possibly later today, it might rain, which might also be refreshing. Well, that was a bit of a climb. It's a very soft sand, but we reached the top, and like most tops, you get a great view. That's a great view. Picture postcard. Anyway, we're still not at the top, a little bit more to go. Well, that's one view from a gate. That's the edge of Three Cliffs. You don't actually see the full Three Cliffs till you get to the opposite side. Well, it's a small old world. I've just come across Tramping the Hills, a fellow YouTuber who's also from my neck of the woods. So it's surprising that I see him 300 miles away from where the area we hang out most, around the Peak District. Pleasure to meet you, Steve. I'm sorry I didn't catch your wife's name, but hello to both of you. Right, we're doing a slight deviation off the route, off the coastal path. Now, not far from here is Penmain Burial Chambers. So come up to Penmain, walked around a little bit to try and find these ruins, There's no signpost around here, so other than the map, it doesn't say anything to do with it. But I found them. That's it. Couple of rocks. So you can see that's an entrance way. I presume that rock was perched up on something else. Anyway, we're going to try and get back on the track now. It's warming up. It's the hottest day. I think we're about 25, 26 degrees now. Hardly a cloud in the sky, and it hasn't even got to its hottest yet. So let's melt before we get to Swansea. I didn't realise we're actually walking around the estuary bank where we can see some people there, and there's even a Coast Guard point. So this is the Three Cliffs of Three Cliffs Bay. Now, I didn't realise there's a little hole there you could walk through. The problem is just the other side is just rock pools. It won't get me back up to the trail. So we're going to have to go this way instead. Well, we're across the estuary. Couldn't do it without my shoes. Oh, lots of little fishes there. Managed to find the trail. I've had my shoes and socks off as I've walked over the estuary, but it was nice to take them off. Not too keen on putting them back on. And there's Pennard Castle. We're in for Mumbles Beach. So just looking down across the Three Cliffs Bay, and then behind it, Oxwich Point. The tide is going out. Gorgeous view. Well worth the trip. See the ruins of Pennard Castle. That's part of the golf course. Now I've been told the actual Welsh amateur tournament is happening as I speak, and it's being played here. So ladies and men's. Right, I think I've decided my retirement is going to be somewhere near the sea. Somewhere like this would be nice. I don't think my budget will afford that. Looking at my budget, probably afford one of these two properties. I did mean the green wheelie bin, or over there is this one. And again, I won't be referring to the new build, the Portaloo. It's about my budget. The tide's starting to come in again. Lovely place for walking. Although it doesn't look that far, we have actually walked, I think it's about 7 miles already. So we've got about 5 left to go. So we're near enough coming to the head at this point. But as we get around the other side, we should just get to see Caswell and then over to the Mumbles. So we're just about to reach Portaloo. I think that's how you pronounce it. Just in front used to be an old Iron Age fortress. There's not much remains of it now. Doesn't even look flat, put a fortress on it. Now, I've loved this walk. Reminisced on my old family holidays as a child with the family, grandparents and parents and brother and sister. Brings back a lot of memories. But also on top of that, it's been a great walk. There's been some ups and downs, like any cliff walking. Nothing like the Jurassic Coast walk. It was just a roller coaster of hills up and down all blooming day. Right, so we are at the cliff edge now. You can see it down there. And we've got about another 6 feet and I'll be falling off the edge. So looking across the bay, we can see quite a big building, sort of like towards where the sandy beach is. That's Caswell. Now if we move along, we can see Newton's Cliff, then the Tut. There's some sort of tower there, some sort of antenna, And then right at the end, we've got Mumbles Head. Well, there's a lot of gorse bush here. I'm not sure if you can hear it. Other than the water, there's a slight humming. And you can see bees and wasps, whatever is in the gorse bush, they like it. Now, as far as we're here, this is the path. Although it just looks like we're walking off the edge of a cliff. It's taking me time here. We're slipping nowhere because there's a hell of a drop. Fortunately, that's not the only path. I think it is a sheer drop from there. But I found another one. So we're going to take that path and that'll follow us down that way. So a moment ago we were over there. It was getting cloudy, but not that bad. But we walked round, we'll walk down along the edge, come to Caswell, which is that place there. A nice little beach here. And then we've started walking along this path. Somehow or other, I've seemed to have deviated from the path and now I seem to be on a golf fairway. Spending too much time looking at the ocean and not actually looking at the footpath. I can see where I've got to go, it's there. I don't know how I got here, and I don't know how to get away from it. Aha, we've found a path again. I think this is going to lead us down to Langland Beach. Now I do believe this might actually be the last proper beach before we get to the end. That's Mumbles Head there. I'll try and do this without falling off the cliff. I'm not sure how much I film this. You know me and falling over. Well, I have fallen over once on this route, but unfortunately for you, I didn't film it. And here we go, we're back on the official path. And it is a nice path now. Oh, tarmac. So I can't get lost now. How did I get lost in the first place? I don't know. Well, I must admit, it's a bit of a grand Victorian beach. The building here looks very Victorian. The little huts out the front of the beach. And even this fencing is Victorian, wrought iron. So this is Langland, as I say, very Victorian looking, with the Victorian huts on the left hand side. Now these are very expensive. They go for anything up to around £25,000 to £30,000. Now they're only a shed, at about, is it something like 6 foot by 8 foot. You can't live in them, just something for the daytime. Well, I've read this sign a little bit late. Don't be a lobster, wear sun cream on Welsh beaches. Look at my legs. I didn't plan that one very well. My searching is over. I think I'm going to retire at the sea. Get a little house, live on the sea. Or by the sea, not on it. I'm going to get a raft. Well, it's definitely getting breezier as we turn around in towards the Mumbles Head. But looking behind, you can see the right on the horizon, the land that's sticking out. That's Oxwich. That's where we started today. And we moved all the way across these bays. And we've got about 2 miles left to go before we get to Oystermouth Castle. And where we finish this walk. And the thing is, like all long distance walks, or any walk at all, they've got to finish at some point. Well, I'm guessing that building there on the edge of that rock face, it's got to be one of 2 or 3 things. Let's have a guess. What's your choice? Is it a hotel? Is it a private residence? Or is it a Coast Guard location? So this is the mound called the Tut. And the mast actually fits to what it is. That building is the Coast Guard lookout station. So this is Bracelet Bay. Again, mainly rock pools. There is a little bit of sand, so I presume that's why it's a beachy bay. That is the Mumbles Head Lighthouse. So we're going to actually walk around this little bit of a bay now, get to the other side of the Mumbles, and then we go down to Mumbles Pier, past the, I can't remember what it's called, it's like a green apple, it's like an old building that seems to be famous. I remember seeing it as a child. So with the sign of the Gower behind me, and also Tut Coast Guard lighthouse point. And looking across here, we've also got a signpost here, which is obviously says the Wales Coastal Path and the Mumbles Reserve. And looking at behind me is the Mumbles Head. And one other thing, as I said before, just behind me is the Little Apple, famous Little Apple. Now I remember it being next to Mumbles Pier as a child, so they've moved it. Let's take a closer look. The Big Apple, funny little structure it is, still here. It's an iconic landmark of the Mumbles. Got this steep little road to go down. It is taking us to Mumbles Pier, and there is the pier itself. Now a lot of people say that this is the point that you finish the Gower Coastal Path. As there's no such place where it starts and finishes, I suppose you can choose wherever you like. I'm finishing at the castle, and at the end of the pier there's two buildings. One directly in front of us, which is the Alderton lifeboat station. Seems to collect a lot of seagulls. Looking down that way is down the Mumbles, and then if we follow it around the bay is into Swansea. Well, they like their lifeboats around here. There's an old one. Then opposite side we've got another one. And there's a lifeboat inside it. We've just had a look. And then we've just been to the pier. There's another two there. So you can see Oystermouth Castle, our final destination. Now this area is renowned for a famous poet. That poet used to live in Swansea. And also the Mumbles used to hang around the pubs. His name was Dylan Thomas, Wales' favourite son. A lot of his poetry is wrote around this area. Right, we're on the final approach as we head up to Oystermouth Castle. So the Gower Coastal Path has been an interesting one. Like most castles, it is a ruin, especially in Wales. I think there's only a couple in North Wales that are still intact. Right, we've finished at Oystermouth Castle as we've walked the Gower coastal line. Sorry, the gimbal seems to be having a world of its own. It's moving on its own accord. It's been a pleasant walk, so I'm not sure where the start point was. Although I started filming at Crofty, I actually started walking at a place called Longhall by the river and the castle ruins. The only problem is I forgot to start filming there. So I walked 4 miles without actually doing any filming, but I'll put a picture up of what it looked like. Hopefully if you enjoyed it as well. If you have, then click the like, add a comment, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. With that, like always, have a good one, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye hikers.